Signals weak but breathing. The scarabs still hum beneath the static. Don't miss the alignment broadcast bi-weekly Wednesdays on A Scarab's Journey, YouTube.
Boots thudding up the quarterdeck, wind snapping the banners, captain's grin bright as a cutlass edge.
Avast, ye rogues, eyes up and ears open, the sea's hummin' tonight. The air was thick with salt and static, a low thrumming under the waves like a drum before war. I tasted it on my tongue, the stutter of a rival signal wave cutting the ether clean. From the rail of the Signal Gale I spied her, the Aegis, all gleam and straight lines, a fortress with sails, not a scar to her name, a ship built by minds that feared chaos. I raised my neon green cutlass and laughed so grand even the gulls scattered. New game, crew. Let's see if order can dance. I tipped a bottle to my lips. Threadbinder sidled close, brows up. Begging your pardon, Cap'n, but that's a bottle, not a cigar. I winked. Aye, well, after I finish me liquid cigar then, TB. He sighed the sigh of a patient saint. As ye will, Captain. Like a busted mast bobbed between our hulls like a baited hook. I drew the cutlass, let the signal sing through it, and split the driftwood with a crack o' green lightning. Just a wink, a dare. Sport. On the Aegis, Captain Serafina didn't care for sport. Helios, her navigator, eyes like cold lanterns marked us. Level 3 anomaly. And Wrench, the grand mechanist, rumbled, raw signal magic, neutralized before it contaminates systems. Begin the purge, Serafina said, voice flat as iron. Harpoons blossomed from their flanks, steam howlers, cables ready to cinch our girl tight. Matrix, I barked. She was already moving, calm as a moon tide. Fingers danced across the brass sigils of her signal board, weaving our chaos into a pattern. Smokework, Veil 3, Jinnig, throw! Jinnig, grinned like a busted knuckle, yanked a pin and lobbed a smoke pot high. It cracked the air and bled emerald fog, rolling thick between ships. He beat a fist on the rail, laughing. Let's see 'em try their tidy knots now. Cables hissed through the green and missed by inches. Cinder Vox, I called. The goblin spark herself clapped once, voice bright and wicked. On it, Cap! She sent a spray of amber sprites, dancing embers that clung to the Aegis' polished plates. Not burning through. Oh, she's cleverer than that. Just tickling sensors and scrambling optics. Wrench's distant growl reached us even through the fog. Below deck, Threadbinder set the Gale's bones to music. He throbbed the shrouds in a rhythm only rigging understands. The kind that nudges a cable an inch left, a harpoon an inch wide, fate itself one stitch safer than it would have been. A cable finally found home, bid our foremast. A single breath later, Ghost Arrow stepped into the green. No hurry. He knocked one shaft, loosed, and the arrow rang pure, a bell note through static, shearing the cable clean. It whipped back into the fog like a struck serpent. Pretty, Rogue purred from the mizzen. My turn. Rogue danced to the rail, red hair aflare, and swung on a line into the murk. She vanished, then reappeared on the Aegis' flank like a rumor, popped a latch, and slipped a scarlet ribbon into some very important clockwork before she rode the fog back to us, landing catlight on our deck with a stolen brass calibration disc. For Matrix, she said, tossing it over. Matrix's eyes flashed. Oh, this will be useful. Order met chaos, and for a heartbeat the sea held its breath. Then the horizon curdled black. 3 hulls bore down, paint matte as midnight, each wearing a single white hand like a threat. No colors, no warning. First volley, chain shot, screaming low, meant to shred the masts of both ships. Ghost Arrow's jaw set. Cap'n. Aye, I said. Not rivals, a purge. On the Aegis, Serafina's gaze sharpened. Intent, eradication, Helios intoned. Wrench swore like a church on fire. One chain shot scythed for our main. Threadbinder slammed his palm to the mast and sank a pulse through the heartwood. The gale bent like a dancer, and the iron death kissed wind instead of timber. Matrix, I called low, open a lane. Her hands blurred. Cross signal, variant 7. The fog parted in rails where we needed them. Through one rail, Thad's Ghost Arrow marked a captain's sightline and buried a shaft into a handgunner just as the man aimed for Rogue's return line. Through another, Jinnig braced, veins like mooring lines, and hauled a fouled anchor chain to turn our belly just so. The next chain shot grazed harmless past. Cindervox's voice went soft and wicked. She sang, a little ember chant, coaxing stray sparks from the chain shot's scream. They bloomed early, fizzling out midair, a firework robbed of cruelty. I roared over the din. I know, Threadbinder said, already moving. He spooled our spare halyards and a harpoon cable into a single braided serpent and lashed it bow to stern. If the hand wants to bind us, let them tug a snare of our choosing. From the Aegis, Seraphina met my eyes across the fog gap. No flag rose, no words cut the air, but the truce was writ as plain as sunrise. Helios, she said, predictive overlay on their chain dispersal. Plotted, he replied. Recommend synchronized broadside at vectors beta 4 and? Wrench? I can feed steam to the bow venturi and kick their shot wide. But there's signal chaff. Seraphina glanced at our deck, at Matrix, hand still weaving. A wry, reluctant nod. On my mark. Matrix, I murmured. Dance with him. Her mouth quirked. Try to keep up, Tin Star. And then we danced. Order and chaos, line and curve. The Aegis vented steam in crisp sheets, batting 2 chain volleys off course. In the same breath, Matrix slung a curve of static that cradled a 3rd volley, just long enough for Ghost Arrow to thread an arrow into the fuse and flower it useless over the waves. Jenig took a glancing cable across the shoulder, dug his boots in, and ripped it free with a roar that shook the rails. Rogue, grinning feral, held up a small brass whistle she'd liberated. From their fire control, she said, seems the hand hates improvisation. Good, I said. Let's improvise. Cindervox stomped her heel. Spark sprites raced along our braided serpent. TB counted, whispering the numbers only rigging obeys. Matrix folded 2 patterns into one. Across the fog, the Aegis's decks glowed with Wrench's power routing, Helios's overlays dancing like constellations. Now! Seraphina and I barked together. The Gale and the Aegis moved as if they'd practiced it for years, a cross-swell wheel, our braided line snapping taut, scything low. It caught the lead, handship's forward rig, and yanked her bow off-wind just as the Aegis Venturi shouldered a 2nd volley aside. Ghost Arrow's last arrow pinned a tumbling chain to the sea like a serpent nailed to a board. Cindervox's sprites fizzed along the hand's exposed fuse line and popped it harmless short. Ha! Jenig bellowed, slamming the capstan. Come on then! The hand's formation staggered. Not broken, but thinking now, forced to. Their black sails bellied as they corrected, and in that breathing space, the sea remembered to exhale. I took another pull of my liquid cigar and let the fire sit warm in my chest. Seraphina, I said to the wind, mayhap your order ain't all coffin lids. Her answer came back dry as bone. And your chaos, Captain, is not entirely catastrophe. Matrix eased the patterns, fingers finally still. TB's braid sighed slack and he patted the line like an old friend. Cindervox shook sparks from her hair, giggling wicked. Ghost Arrow collected the last of his spent shafts with quiet hands. Rogue flipped the brass disc once more, slid it to Matrix, and winked. Jenig rolled his shoulder, tore a dangling cable in half just to hear it squeal, and grinned wider. I lifted the bottle. To enemies who know when to be allies. Across the water, Seraphina raised something silver and disciplined. We drank, each to our way. The hand wheeled again on the far edge of the fog, angry as hornets. I set the bottle aside, wiped my mouth with the back of my hand, and flashed teeth like a signal flare. Right, me hearties, I said, voice low and happy. Playtime's over. The crew leaned in, every soul bright with their own kind of fire. Act 2, I promised the sea. Let's teach a purge how to dance.
This voyage of a Signal Dramas, Captain's Tales, was brought to you by the steadfast souls of the Vanna Roost crew. From the deck of the Signal Gale to every far-flung harbor, we thank you for sailing with us. Until our next tide, fair winds, steady hands, and may your signal never falter.
Save me, life! Save me, life! Save me, Lord. Hey!
And now we step ashore for a brief spell. A word from our sponsors before we hoist the colors once more aboard a Signal Drama's Captain's Tales.
Welcome to a Scarab's Journey. This is a hub where echoes of the profound reside, a nexus for the ethereal sounds of a signal drift, the haunting melodies of a velvet eclipse, and the sonic cataclysms of tape deck catastrophe. And sometimes, even fragments of my own humble transmissions find their way here. I was gifted a cryptic connection to the velvet, now tasked to spread its clues, links, mysteries, and the sheer intoxicating fun that is the velvet lore. Join me on this journey through fragmented signals and hidden truths as we embark on a Scarab's journey together. Subscribe to A Scarab's Journey. Become part of the transmission. Unravel the mysteries.
We now drift back into our second act. The tide is shifting in Captain's Tales. The sea grows darker still, but before we chart the next course, a brief signal break. Captain's Tales will return shortly.
Immerse in the taste that gurgles back. Meet the Mega Gurgler, so big, even your nightmares need napkins. Beware of the Neon Dick Gobbler. If he sees your glow sticks, he will gobble. Chomp it, gurgle it, dip it, run. Unveiling the Neon Chomp Box, Adult Edition. A Bytecoin inside, a comic inside. Collect all 6 Glizzy Chronicles. Neon Chomp, you're gonna wanna forget you ever ate here.
Your situation is overridden.
Is overridden.
Signal drift detected.
Logging 388. Give you any clear playback.
The city was fractured long before the signal broke. Now it hums beneath the rain, watching, waiting. This is more than a broadcast. This is Red Neon Justice.
The signal is not yours, but you are in it now. Red Neon Justice. The Signal Dramas. Sundays at quarter after 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, only on A Scarab's Journey official YouTube channel.
And now we drift back into our final act, the wind at our back and the enemy on the horizon in Captain's Tales.